What is up, guys? Zan for the Zan Madden YouTube channel. Today's video, we are going to cover the ability point update that is going out tomorrow, Tuesday, March the 23rd. But before we get to the video, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys take the time to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads coming your way here on the Zan Madden YouTube channel. If you guys want to take your game to the next level in Madden 21, check out my strategy site, GamePlansgg. Gridiron Game Plans is your one-stop source for all things competitive Madden. Every week in our Vault update, we take a look at the meta, or the most effective tactics available being used by pro players in the MCS circuit, breaking down not only how and why the pros do what they do, but most importantly, how you can counter those metas when you face them in online gameplay. On top of that, your subscription also includes any and every offensive and defensive game plan released on the website while your subscription is active. And with those AP changes that are coming tomorrow that are going to have a big effect on the defensive meta, you'll definitely want to check out my most recent defensive game plan, the Nickel 245, with the best pass rushing cocktail in the game, and we'll keep talking about that as well. The best ways to shoot the power runs with gap shoots out of the 245, and the most unique coverage cocktails that you can run to stop the meta setups. No abilities needed, no one step ahead on my field, not even using Midzone Knockout. We've got the best coverage setups to lock down the bunch, the trips tight end, all those popular offenses that you face every single day. We've got you covered. So if you guys are looking to move on from that main coverage meta, definitely go check it out. Otherwise, let's get into today's video. Let's go ahead and get right into it. AP update. After many months of waiting on this, EA is finally coming through. You know, I got to take a quick second. I've been hard on this game all year long. Certainly on the gameplay team, for the way that the game has been created, balanced or lack of balance. But one thing I got to say, man, I know that some of you out there are probably deeper into MUT than I am in terms of the content. I've enjoyed the content all year long, and I think it's been one of the better content years. I know that there have been times where EA has taken, 4 or 5 days without content, at a couple points in the year, and that's definitely upset some people. But overall, I really like the content, and I got to say that the MUT team has come through this time in the gameplay realm by making these AP changes. So let's go ahead and talk about these AP changes and which ones, if any, will make some major impacts on the way Madden is being played. So if you guys want the link to this article, it is in the description. Let's go ahead and get right into it. It says, hey, Madden fans, we're all here to detail our second ability point update of the year, which is targeted to go live on Tuesday, March 23rd. We've taken the feedback throughout the community to help shape this update. The update has notably increased the one step ahead, a meta that we've seen for a little while now. Players will now only be able to activate no more than 2 of them. I think that is a massive change to this game. Also of note, you'll see changes that will help incentivize using linebackers over safeties at the sub linebacker position. We'll definitely talk about that as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. AP limit update. They're going to go from 12 to 15 on both sides of the ball. I think we all saw this change coming regardless of what the meta was going to be. As the players get better in the year, the abilities are more costly that they unlock when they activate. So obviously the AP limit has got to go up for us to be able to use all these cool abilities. Doesn't really surprise me there. Special teams AP limit has been increased from 2 to 3. For me, I think that just basically means that we're going to have our kickers now with a slow meter that can't be iced. I think kicks are pretty easy as is, even without focus kicker. It's not too bad, but really not the end of the world. If you're giving up a game-winning field goal, chances are that means your defense didn't do the job it needed to do. So you can't really blame a loss on not being able to ice somebody. So not really a huge deal there. Now for the offense, QB playmaker. 10 AP for the QB playmaker. And that is something that goes on the improviser archetype. So you guys know the wide receiver playmaker that was on Dion all year, obviously on McLaurin, Steve Smith, Tyreek Hill, number of other guys that get it now as well. It was far and away the most used ability in the game offensively because of the way man coverage worked. A lot of players that ran man coverage claimed that the playmaker was way too powerful. you know, I guess that's your personal preference. I think that the man coverage was way too powerful, and, you know, over effective tactic kind of begets another over effective tactic. But it makes sense that with the one step ahead going up, that naturally playmaker would as well. So it goes from 7 to 10. Playmaker on the actual positions now goes up from 4 to 6. So 6 out of your 15 AP if you want to roster a playmaker receiver, which there's going to be a number of players that, especially if you run the bunch or the trips tight end metas, are probably still going to find a way to fit that in to their budget. Route tech goes up by 1 AP to all archetypes. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. It's a really good ability. It basically disappeared for the last 3 months because One Step Ahead shut off the route tech and the slot-o-matic type abilities to the point that they never worked if they were manned up by a One Step Ahead player. I mean, it was even to the point where players could even put their user having One Step Ahead and man him up individually on a player that had route tech just to make sure the route tech didn't fire. That was kind of like a small tip that a lot of players didn't actually know about the game, but very few people used it because more people wanted to blitz their user than have them in a coverage assignment, which also makes sense. But now with only 2 route techs, or I'm sorry, 2 One Step Aheads on the field, you're probably going to see route tech all over the place, certainly against match coverage. Against the players that still want to run man coverage, that route tech is going to become very, very powerful again. So +1 to all archetypes. I think that now with One Step Ahead gone, you'll probably see the route running archetype receiver become a preferred archetype again, because you're going to have the ability to slap that route tech on them for the cheapest cost of all the archetypes. So obviously route runners are cheaper than deep threats and physical or, you know, possession type receivers. So now let's go ahead and get into the defensive AP update. The big one, obviously, One Step Ahead, now 6 ability points across the board. Now we got to think about that. With it being 6 AP across the board, you've only got 15 to work with. So let's say that you were a player that previously, before this update goes into effect, was a One Step Ahead player that rostered 3 of them. Most players that ran 3 One Step Aheads also played 3 acrobats as well. So the same player would have One Step Ahead and acrobat, and you would have that times 3 for a total of 12 AP. Now we're in a spot where you can't even roster 3 One Step Aheads anymore, because that would cost you 18 out of 15. So now the most you will ever see is going to be 2 One Step Aheads. And if you do that, you're only going to have 3 AP left over, and we'll get to that here in just a moment. Now you have Deep Route Knockout. That's another man coverage ability. That was a 2 AP ability on players to knock out deep routes. So when you talk about having a route KO now, you're talking about basically you can have, let's say you have 2 One Step Aheads. We talked about that being 12 out of 15. Now, if you want to slap a deep route KO on either of them, you're going to be in a spot where one guy can have the deep route KO and the One Step Ahead stacked on him. So he'll be very, very good at neutralizing a deep threat receiver if you do a One Step Ahead deep route KO. But then that other One Step Ahead is basically what we call naked. They're left on an island. Now, I think that one of the major talking points in Madden this year has been that One Step Ahead itself is the overpowered ability. I think that truthfully, it was the vehicle that made Acrobat and the route KO abilities so effective. Acrobat is an ability that if a guy is close enough, he'll get those diving and swatting interceptions and tip animations. But it really needed that vehicle of One Step Ahead to keep the player close enough. I feel the exact same way about the Deep Route Knockout ability. Deep Route Knockout on a player will still get torched on a skinny post without One Step Ahead. And then he'll be so far behind the receiver that Deep Route Knockout really won't save him. So, you know, if you have a player that just has Deep Route Knockout against, you know, a regular guy, a skinny post is still going to beat him if it, you know, has 90 deep route running and good speed. On top of that, if you have a route tech, you know, like a Deep Route Knockout can't hang with a route tech without One Step Ahead to cancel the route tech. So really what we're saying here is that, you know, if you just want to run 2 one-step aheads, only one of them is going to be dangerous. The other one is still beatable. You know, Acrobat is kind of the counter to the low balling a bunch of routes, hitches, digs, you know, all kinds of different routes. You also factor in now that the user can't just snap when the ball's snapped, run in circles and click off anymore, because now with 2 one-step aheads on the field, that means that there are 3 pass eligible players that can and will beat their man-to-man coverage. A backfield master running back is going to cook his linebacker and can ag him very, very routinely. A matchup nightmare tight end can cook a linebacker. Or now you're not going to have, you know, some safety, you know, some DB playing strong safety with 1 step ahead to neutralize the tight end. You know, the user's going to have to be doing more than just running in circles in the middle of the field and clicking off now. So 2 one-step aheads really is not that big a deal. Medium route knockout, +1 to all archetypes, very similar to deep route knockout. It's actually a cheaper ability to put on than deep, but it's going to go up by 1 as well. That's basically going to knock out, you know, your corners and posts that are breaking in that 10 to 20 yard range. Now, again, here's the issue. That ability to me is useless without the vehicle that is 1 step ahead to keep him close enough to actually trigger those drop animations. So I don't really foresee that being too much of a thing going forward. Acrobat, this one's big. As you guys know, they started off with Acrobat being 1 AP at the beginning of the year on all players. Didn't matter if you were a linebacker, a corner, a safety, it was 1 on all players. Then quickly they saw how Acrobat on everyone on the field was really, really powerful. If you remember, at one point in the year, I was the big Midzone Knockout guy, right? And I basically taught on Gridiron, hey, run Midzone Knockout, have Acrobat on all of them. So it's like 1 for Midzone, they break anywhere on the field, 1 for Acrobat, and they'll dive after they break on the ball. And that was actually really, really tough. Really, really tough defense. And we'll get to more about the Midzone Knockout here in a moment. But either way, they're now going to move up Acrobat to now 2 AP on all DBs and 3 AP on safeties. So now your safeties basically will never have Acrobat, and corners will now cost 2. Again, if you're going back to your 1 step ahead meta, let's say you want to run 2 1 step aheads. Now you're going to have the choice with 12 out of your 15 AP being allocated just to 1 step aheads. One of those 2 1 step aheads can have the Acrobat. So basically now out of your 2 1 step aheads, you have a choice. Do you want to put Acrobat on him, or do you want to put a knockout ability on him? Because you're not going to be able to do it on both, and you're not getting a 3rd 1 step. So pretty big there. Now let's go ahead and get into Lurker. Lurker, this one's really interesting to me. They're trying to get us to put linebackers on the field. And by putting Lurker on your linebacker, they're thinking that, you know, lowering that cost by 1, maybe that will cause players to put linebackers on the field. Here's why they won't. Right now, the top meta is 3-3-5 normal with safeties at all 3 linebacker spots, audibled into 3-3-5 wide, so that you can get those outside linebackers to be safeties. You can't actually package safeties at outside linebacker in 3-3-5 wide and break the huddle in 3-3-5 wide. You have to circumvent those sub rules by coming out in 3-3-5 normal with safeties at outside linebacker and audibling into 3-3-5 wide, which is only possible in the 4-6 defense. So that's why the 4-6 defense is so popular, is that both those formations exist in it. Now, the reason you won't see this is because safeties at linebacker do a decent job at animating, better than linebackers for sure, but it's free for them to animate. We've seen it all year. Guys that, you know, guys that are playing safeties at linebacker in man coverage on running backs and tight ends, they play just fine. And the better part is that they also shed the run like ratings don't matter. They block shed so consistently. So if you're getting good coverage and block shed that completely disregards weight, strength, actual run block rating of the tackle blocking, you know, Ronnie Lott playing on the edge, why would you ever want to put a linebacker on the field? I get why EA is trying to entice us with this, with Lurker, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Now, on the flip side, they went ahead and made sure that Lurker now is more expensive on safeties altogether, and that includes safeties and linebackers. So they decreased the ability, the cost of the ability for a linebacker and increased it for a safety, meaning that you basically, if you want to run a lurker, it's going to be much better to run it on a linebacker than it is a safety. But again, I don't really see that we have a huge issue with Isaiah Simmons at middle linebacker running around in circles and animating. You know, I personally haven't played with any abilities on my user all year long. You know, I got rid of Acrobat on my user months ago and haven't looked back. So it's not an issue where the users aren't animating. I just don't see any reason that players will entertain a linebacker coming back on the field, at least in Madden 21. Inside stuff. Inside stuff, they've decreased the value of inside stuff on middle linebackers and outside linebackers. Here is the issue with this, and I actually tested this out. You can have a middle linebacker with inside stuff on the field, but he really has to be blitzing for it to be impactful. Meaning that if you have, you know, let's say you're in Tampa 2 and you've got linebackers that are at the second level off the ball and you want them to activate on inside stuff, you really need to have them run blitzing already. So it's really not that impactful. Like mid blitz, like a nickel double A gap mid blitz with inside stuff at your middle linebacker spots, that could be valuable. But when, again, they have to be blitzing. If they drop out of that A gap in man coverage assignment or a hook assignment, they don't light up. I tried this just 2 weeks ago. So this is going to be a completely non-impactful change. Nobody's going to run inside stuff on a linebacker. They're just not. Again, another reason that linebackers just don't matter in this year's game. No outsiders, again, same deal. Outside linebackers with no outsiders are fine. You know, 3-3, 5 wide, you know, those guys that are there on the edge right away. It'll work. It'll definitely work. But again, I don't see a situation where people are going to use this because, like I said, those safeties at linebacker shed so well that you don't even need the no outsiders ability to begin with. So I'm not going to go from a safety who is running no abilities and stopping the run well to a linebacker who's going to be worse in coverage and just as effective with an ability. So again, you know, it's not a situation where they need to make linebackers more useful. It's that they need to make safeties less overpowered at linebacker in this particular situation. Now, goal line stuff, again, same deal. Linebackers not spending any AP on an ability that only works down around the goal line. This one right here, though, this one's really, really interesting to me. The Edge Threat Elite is now going from 5 to 4 on your player. Now, the reason that I think that they are doing this is because they fear that with the man coverage meta going away, that players are going to struggle getting stops in zone. And the way that you make coverage better is to get to the passer. So by cheapening up the Edge Threat Elite from 5 down to 4, they're hoping that you'll slap 8 AP on your defensive line to get to the quarterback so that we aren't complaining as a community about zone coverage here in a month. I think that this is a good idea by EA. I do, as somebody that's run nothing but zone all year long. Really, really important. Now, the next one, Enforcer. -1 for all run support, safety archetypes, and the field general archetypes. I personally think that Enforcer is an ability that only works if your opponent is tired. I'm going to leave that one there. You guys do the math going forward. So there's one thing that actually was not mentioned here that we need to talk about, and that is going to be the Midzone Knockout. Rumor has it that Midzone Knockout, the Midzone Knockout ability, is going from 1 AP to 2 AP per player. That's not really that big a deal, but I want to make sure that I give my thoughts on that as well. The issue with them moving that ability up from 1 to 2 AP is that the actual knockout of this ability does not work. Anybody who was running the Midzone Knockout meta was simply paying the 1 AP per player to make it so they didn't sit there flat-footed and cover grass, and that they actually broke on the throw when the quarterback went to throw. Here's the other thing. Midzone Knockout really only helps in a scenario in which the quarterback has a windup. As we know, everyone runs the gunslinger right now. So Midzone Knockout is really only effective against non-gunslinger quarterbacks, because the amount of time that they have to break on the ball while the quarterback is winding up is next to nothing with gunslinger. And then you factor in that Rodgers and Favre are in the game right now, and that most players are going to use those quarterbacks that have virtually no wind up on top of their gunslinger. It's just a little wrist flick that takes like 0.4 of a second, maybe even less. And Midzone Knockout is not really going to have an opportunity to break on the ball. And then you factor in that it actually doesn't jar the ball loose. Nothing is more evident than when your opponent throws a 10-yard in route over the middle of the field and you have a safety with Midzone Knockout breaking on that throw, literally 15 yards over the middle of the field, and then 2 hook defenders in the middle of the field breaking back on that throw, and the guy holds on in traffic between 3 guys that have an ability called Midzone Knockout, literally middle of the field in zone, and none of the 3 trigger the knockout animation. So now to run those same 3 players that really are only using that ability to break on the throw in a timely manner, now we're paying double for the ability to still not work from the knockout perspective. So I would still like to see EA make some changes, and actually if they're going to raise that AP cost, which is totally fine by me because there are aspects of where that ability is pretty effective, as long as they make sure that it does what it says it's going to do and knock the ball out, I would still be willing to pay that cost. Because as you remember, early on, super early on, I ran Midzone Knockout with Acrobat. I wanted to use Midzone Knockout to get the break on the ball. That's the vehicle that got the player close enough for the Acrobat to kick in, which is the exact same way that players essentially use one step ahead as the vehicle to get the guy close enough to get the diving interceptions and swatting animations. So that's today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't do a lot of these like video blog type videos that kind of break down news, but this is a pretty big one today. Pretty big one today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I want to hear what you guys have to think about this as well. So give me your comments below. If you have any questions, concerns, or complaints, certainly drop those as well. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Big day tomorrow, guys. Hope you guys have a great evening. Get in the lab and good luck.